Hey, if you are a digital agency owner and you want more referral partners, clients, and strategic partners, listen up.
If you watch all the way to the end, we will show you exactly how to get a referral in the next 24 hours.
I'm going to share exactly how any B2B business and agency can create a predictable referral and client pipeline. We have a solution that we have tested and proven over the past 15 years to help unlock a predictable stream of new clients and referral partners. I'm going to share some secret sauce that digital agencies are using to book their calendar with high caliber prospects and referral partners. All right, there are 5 steps that we follow in order to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships, and we're going to teach them to you now.
By the way, we did not invent this, and we're going to show you something right now. John, I don't know if you can see this, but we're looking here at Oprah. Okay, Oprah used this strategy to go to the top of her industry and connect with some of the highest level people. Here she is, obviously, with Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Reid Hoffman, even the co-founder, founder of LinkedIn, used this strategy to up-level his network and create content. And John?
In the All In podcast and summit, it's some of the biggest investors in the world behind some of the biggest companies in the world behind, Uber and Google and Facebook, had their own conference recently with the founder, with Ray Dalio, is one of the biggest investors out there on stage. And so all of these people are leveraging this strategy.
Let's go through, here's our promise to you. As we said before, we're going to show you how to connect to your Dream 100, your ideal clients or referral partners. We're going to share our system for giving to your network that will bring you lots of incoming referrals. And we're going to share how you can get ROI immediately from this presentation. So the 5 steps to profit with a podcast, as John mentioned before, all these people have featured others. And these are the 5 steps we're going to walk through. 1 is create your Dream 100. 2, we're going to go over get ROI with outreach. 3 is the actual art and science of producing amazing content and even the technology setup. 4 is build your give loop and grow your reach. And 5 is how do you turn your podcast into profits, turning your guests into partners. So let's look at these. Create your Dream 100 first. John?
Yeah. So this is a critical first step, is really taking the time to think through who's your ideal targeting for clients, referral partners, strategic partners. And so many people don't, first of all, they don't take this critical first step to actually think it through. And so they don't think about like, what direction is my business going in, or direction do I want it to go in? What do I need most help with right now? What do I need to focus on the most? And a lot of times they are thinking of just about cold relationships and not warm relationships. So they're thinking about like, how do I get more prospects in the funnel? And they're not doubling down on their most valuable relationships. That's your past clients, your referral partners, people who really have been an advocate for you, a champion for you over the years. And so we're big advocates of make a list of those people who know, like, and trust you, and have referred someone to you in the past. Those are some of the best people to start with and to double down on that relationship.
Yeah. So who are your best referral partners? When we're talking the warm category, who are your biggest champions? Make a list. Who are the people that know, like, and trust you? Now, there's also, we don't want to neglect the cold relationships, right? And here's some of the trends you can think about with the cold relationships. Where can you find more referral partners and strategic partners? And here's some of the common trends that we've found. Obviously, looking at consultants or practice management groups in your space, in your industry, trade associations in your industry. If there's a big trade association, the vendors, the exhibitors, the people who put it on, they're all great partners in leadership, and they're all great partners for you. 3, people who run conferences in your niche, right? Ask your best customers. Number 4, ask your best customers what software and services they use, because if they have 100, 200, 1,000 customers that are similar to yours, that's a great partner for you. And 5, speakers and authors, right? Because speakers and authors monetize their business a little bit differently. They also may have large followings of people that can use your service. So these are some of the cold relationships to think about. Now let's look at a case study, a few actual examples of how it can work.
Yeah. So this is Dean. He has a digital agency that we worked with, and he said that he could directly attribute $50,000 to $75,000 in monthly recurring revenue directly to the podcast from closing clients who were guests on the show. That's not even counting listenership, but that's just directly having really high caliber conversations with his prospects, with past clients, additional revenue that came from past clients, with referral partners. And he also said that they would typically close at a higher rate because the podcast interview process had allowed him to build much higher trust. So by the time they talked about some kind of collaboration or serving them or helping them in some capacity, they already knew, liked, and trusted Dean, and by extension, his company as well.
Again, think about who's your ideal client, who are your ideal referral partners, and think about one of these groups: the consultants, trade associations, people who are on conferences, software services, authors, influencers. Now, we're going to come back to this and how, again, we promised, how can you get ROI in the next 24 hours and from what we're going to talk about. So start off right now, write down the top 3 best referral partners. Okay. Write them down, write their name down. Now, the other key thing you should think about is write their profession down. We see a lot of people, there's trends, right? So we've had people list this out, and 2 of the 3, or if they wrote down, you could, do more than 3, 4 of the 5 happen to be CPAs. Like, did you know CPAs are great referral partners for you? No, I never really thought about it. So maybe that we told that person, you should really form more relationships with CPAs. So write down 3, your best partners, their name and their profession. Next, after Create Your Dream 100, is get ROI with outreach.
First of all, how does that even possible, right? So we use something that we like to call the indirect ask. Now, the indirect ask is, the result of it is that it's possible, this is not outlandish at all, it's possible to get ROI even before you launch your podcast, just through the process of reaching out to your champions, to your past clients, to your current clients, to your referral partners, as I like to call it, to get into conversation with these people. These are the most important people in your world, in your business, and just getting into the conversation with them in relation to the launch of a podcast is one of the best things that you can do. It was one of the best uses of your time. And so we see that all the time, just reaching out and telling people that you'd like to get involved them with that. And I think what we're showing here, this little shot here, is a bad reach out message that we got from someone.
How do you craft an actual good message? I got this. This is a screenshot and we all get these, right? You've got them on email, you've got them on LinkedIn. This person started off with, amidst the circumstance, they lost me. Okay. And they go, would you like to? This is terrible. And by the way, as you know, I'd like to send you some updated information regarding services. I didn't ask for their services. So why are they offering me services? What's a good outreach, whether it's warm or cold? This indirect ask goes to people who but what are you going to send to people you know or don't know? This is terrible. Absolutely terrible. So let's talk about some specific things that people can do.
The thing is that all of us have got this spidey sense for these types of incoming sales pitches. We can see it coming from a mile away. We can tell this person's just trying to pitch us on something. And so people just eliminate it, delete it. They don't respond all the time to those types of messages. So let's talk about how to craft an indirect ask message. Well, you should, first of all, be very specific in your criteria of who you want to feature on your podcast. Sometimes people make the mistake of thinking, I'm starting, this is new, and so I need to let anyone come in. That's not at all the case. You should be very specific because you want to make a good use of your time. You don't want to waste your time having just anyone under the sun on your podcast. You want to be very specific about that. Then you want to include some social proof elements. Now, there's many different ways to establish social proof. What is social proof? I've won such and such awards. I practiced my profession for a certain amount of years. I've been quoted in the New York Times. That's social proof. There are third parties that are vouching in some way by receiving an award or some kind of recognition or duration or, Costco as a client. So all those things are social proof. So you want to include those in there, and you can, by extension, you can use existing social proof that you have. It doesn't have to be in the podcast context.
Yeah, it could even be companies you've worked with. right? People
Exactly.
have like logos on their website. They already have these pieces. If usually you go to your main website, you've had a bunch of these social proof elements there.
Yeah. Eventually, as the podcast goes along longer and you've had other big guests on there, especially in a specific niche, then you can basically use a velvet rope strategy where you start saying, I've had this person and this person and this person in your industry on the podcast. And then people get competitive and they're like, oh man, if that company's been on or that company's been on or that person has been on, I want to be on too. So you can leverage that to your advantage. But even before, when you're just getting started, you can use these other types of social proof as well.
So here's something we talked about Dean. Here's Luis. And he shares this is a video. We're not going to play it here, but he shares how he got 3 referrals in a client before he even recorded his first interview. And that's what he did. He used a indirect ask message to get suggestions for guests and to invite people on his show. And this is before he even recorded an interview. So he got referrals and a client.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's with, guess what? How many downloads did he have, John?
None. Zero. No,
because he hadn't launched. He hasn't recorded his first interview yet.
Right.
So it did not matter.
It's the complete opposite of some people who think, oh, everything needs to be absolutely dialed in and perfect until I can start doing any of this. So let's help you to take some quick action. So you're watching this, take out your phone.
Yeah. How do you get referrals now in the next 24 hours?
That's right. So take out your phone, find the people you wrote down a couple of steps ago, about a couple of minutes ago. Find the people you wrote down and appreciate them, give to them. So send them a text or send them an email and just say, hey, I want to thank you for all of your support, for always going above and beyond, something like that. You can use your own language. What are you focused on lately? I want to see how I can help you. That's it. Nothing more.
Yeah. You notice
lots of people will never do this. But if it's the person that is the most meaningful to your business, that you're really indebted to because they've been a champion for you, they've referred other business to you, it's the least you can do is to express this gratitude to them. So,
John, like this comes from a place of not expecting anything. This comes from a place of just as a true gratitude and thank you. You're not expecting anything in return. You are it should be a sincere appreciation of that person. And I don't know once when I've sent one of these, John, no one's turned out like, Jeremy, stop emailing these thank you gratitude messages. Like, no, it comes from a genuine place. Like, you're so welcome. And I'm really genuinely meaning, and I know John is, what are they focused on? How can we help? Who can we introduce to them? Right.
That's right.
So send these to 3 if you want to be ambitious, 4, 5, 6. Promise you'll get some great messages back.
Next step is the art and science of producing amazing content, including technology setup, because we get this question frequently. Oh, what microphone do I need? What software should I use? Those are relatively minor decisions that you need, but we're going to help you with them right now.
Let's get those out of the way. So remember, create your Dream 100, get ROI with outreach, art and science of producing amazing content. We'll get the technology set up out of the way. We keep it simple, right, John? It's like USB mic, go on Amazon, get whatever you want. They're going to change from time to time. I have a Blue Yeti. It's like $120 and John has an ATR 2100. They're $100. So that's literally all you need. Plug it in the back of your computer. And you need what you normally use to have conversations. If you use Zoom, use Zoom. If you use Microsoft, use Microsoft. If you use something else, just keep it simple for you and the guest.
And what we're going to use in order to create amazing content is as old as time, as old as people sitting around a fire and sharing stories. It's the power of stories. So it's asking people to tell their story, which you'd be surprised. People do not get asked to do that all that often, assuming you're not interviewing, some huge worldwide celebrity. You're going to be interviewing people in your industry. And most of the time, we don't get to tell our stories because our spouse is sick of hearing it. Our friends are sick of hearing it. Our family not interested. And so just taking genuine interest in people and asking them to tell their stories will make a huge impact. And if you think about it, your favorite movie, your favorite book, it's full of good stories. That's why these things make such a big impact. So imagine just asking icons of business in your industry or whatever that you're curious, that you have curiosity about, asking them directly questions that you can apply to your business that can help you break through walls in your business. How did you get started? Where did that idea come from? These are all great, ways for you to learn and educate yourself and to make big leaps in your business.
I remember, one of the guests I had on was the co-founder of Pixar. There's so much information. There's so many questions from Steve Jobs to George Lucas to how it started. But all I said was, how'd you get started? How'd this all start? And he told over 20 minutes of incredible stories. And that's all I asked, is a simple question, open-ended question that got him started. He, here it is on this. You could see this is, he shared with me the certified check for $5 million from Steve Jobs that was written to Pixar to start Pixar, that Ed and Alvy immediately signed over to Lucasfilm. So it just was, how'd you get started?
Yeah.
Also, an hour-long conversation I had with Steve Jobs' mentor, Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari, and what he learned from him. Just like you said, John, before, having these, it's not only great content, it's not only great networking, but it's learnings that we could bring into our business from a professional development standpoint.
Yeah.
So,
all right,
create your G100, get ROI with outreach, the art and science of producing amazing content. Now, how do you build your give loop and grow your reach?
So when you publish an episode, and this is important, even from the very beginning, you are giving to that person in a major way. Even if it's a new podcast, even if you don't have a lot of downloads, you are giving them exposure, publicity. You are vouching for them by interviewing them. You are telling your network about them. And a lot of times people get a little bit insecure about this. They think, oh, I don't have much of an audience, or I'm just getting started, or something like that. I want you to flush that from your mind, because you're devoting your resources, your time, your attention, your energy. All those things have currency and value. And so I don't want you to think that you're not giving them anything, because you're actually giving them a lot. And people feel indebted. And it leverages the principle of reciprocity, because then people want to reciprocate. They want to repay the favor in some way. And this is part of the reason why I'm so passionate about podcasting, is because you are giving out value to the world, to the people that you are interviewing. And as a result, because of the principle of reciprocity, that will come flowing back to you.
Yeah, and you're creating a shareable asset that they can use to actually market their business and share with their community. So you make a shareable asset to increase your reach. And here's an example. I mean, there's many examples. John and I've been doing this for, over 15 years at this point. And this is Richard Rossi, amazing entrepreneur, amazing story. I was so blessed to have him on and share. And, through that, we're creating the post, the video, the audio, and all the assets. And then I share it with him. And now he posts it, unprompted, of course, but just sharing it with him. He shares it on his LinkedIn with other great, amazing entrepreneurs, shares it. I had a great conversation. Check out my recent podcast, shares the link. People can click on it. It's not even about you could see there's like 34 people liked it, 6 comments. Really, it's not about the vanity metrics. It's about quality over quantity. It's about Richard's high level network, and the people in his universe also want to hear like his story and learn from him. And he shares with those high level people. So that's an amazing group of people that's going to learn about Richard. And they're also going to check out the podcast.
Yep. And there are other resources you can create from a podcast. I like to say the podcast is kind of the backbone. Once you have that backbone, then there's other things that can build off of it. So you can create additional resources. You can create dynamic snippets. You can create imagery and things like that you can share across social channels. The beautiful part about it is it's a one-to-one conversation, like we have all the time, right? We do it when we go out to networking events or conferences or things like that, but you're recording it, you're capturing it, and then you're distributing it across multiple different channels. What's also important from a marketing networking standpoint is you're diversifying. So you're not dependent on one tech platform. We all know that when you're too dependent on one tech platform, then that can lead to bad things happening because that tech platform can change the rules of the road. So the beautiful part about a podcast is one conversation and you can distribute it across multiple different channels, and you can cut it up into little slices, and you can share it on different channels, and you can use it as a networking tool to get exposure to other people's audiences.
Yeah. So that one episode, that one 30 to 60-minute conversation goes on your website. It goes on Apple. It goes on Spotify. It goes on any of the social media platforms. It goes on over 15 channels from that one conversation. So the next step is, now we talked about the text and the email directly to your network from an ROI and giving to your network. Here's the next piece you can use immediately. Okay. An outreach action, right? Right now, you can go to social media channel of your choice, whatever you like. Find the people you wrote down in your Dream 100 who are your biggest champions and post about them. Okay. Go and shout from the rooftops what they're working on. It's not about, when we do this, this is not about us at all. It's about the other person and their company and what they're doing. So what you can include is one aspect you love about them and their business, a short bio. You can grab it from their website or their LinkedIn profile. You could link to their website. And then most importantly, tag them in the post, thanking them and other people who should see what that person's working on. Again, it's another give, and you can do that today. Next.
All right. Step
Create
number
your
5.
Dream 100. We go get your ROI with outreach, art and science of producing amazing content, build your give loop. Now turn your podcast into profits, turn guests into partners. John, what are some of the ways we recommend doing that?
Yeah. So after you have done the outreach, recorded the recording, and then you're going to get it out into the world, you want to look for give and collaboration opportunities. So after you do an interview, I'm a big believer that in order to get referrals, to get introductions, you have to make introductions. So when I meet someone through my podcast and I'm interviewing them, I'm thinking, who else can I introduce this person to? Who else in my network would benefit from knowing this person? So you can offer to refer them to someone who could be a good fit. If not, you can also ask who an ideal client is and keep them in mind in the future. You can message them when the episode goes live to let them know. It's something that I didn't do for at least my first 5 years, made the mistake of not having a system in place to do that. Now, of course, we do. Jeremy helped me put that in place. If you see a comment on social media after the episode goes live, let the interviewee know, let them know that someone commented on it, bring it to their attention. And then, you can also do things like have a formal referral program for your business so you can incentivize and be able to send a referral agreement to them if they'd be a good referral partner for you.
Yeah. Like we always say, we personally would rather pay our friends than Google or Facebook. So This is really create your give loop. This is a give loop of constantly giving to people. And, here's the thing. Let's say you only interview your referral partner, you have your referral partners on, and the lifetime value of a client for you is worth $50,000, right? This year, John, I know John and I, do a lot more than this because we release 2 to 3 episodes a week, but let's say you interview 40 partners this year and only 10% of them refer you one person. It's like, let's be real conservative with the numbers. Well, at the end of the year, you have 4 clients. And if the lifetime value of those clients are $50,000, you just got an ROI of $200,000 from doing that. Again, year 2, you have more partners, and those still same partners from year 1 are referring. Now you have year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that keeps compounding, right?
It does.
So I just want to introduce John for a second. Like, who are we? What have we been doing? Why should you even listen to us in general? John, he's a former White House writer, speechwriter to the governor of California. He's an early employee of DreamWorks. He wrote for Forbes, Business Insider, Huffington Post. He started Smart Business Revolution podcast back in 2011. Okay, he's been doing this over a decade. You can see I joke around. He screenshots himself in with presidents, but these are real pictures, he tells me, with President Biden. He's got Obama there. He's got Bill Clinton, and he's got a picture of Elon Musk there. And I don't know how he does this all, but he's got 4 kids on top of it. actually the most insane part about this entire slide right here.
And the most important, most relevant to this discussion is that I started my podcast to support my small business. I was a practicing attorney at the time. It was just me. I didn't have anyone else working for me. I was, on that constant struggle, trying to get clients, going to coffees and lunches with people, trying to get people to refer business to me. None of it really worked that well. It was kind of a waste of time. And I had a good client who came to me for a tiny little matter. It turns out was a very successful entrepreneur. He'd started other businesses, gone public. And I thought, I'd love to have this guy as a regular client. What can I do? And kind of on a whim, I just said, hey, can I have 20 minutes of your time? I'd love to interview you over video Skype at the time, which I did. And after it was over, he said, this was great, John. This was a lot of fun. By the way, I've got a couple other legal projects for you. And it was like a light bulb went off over my head. I was like, oh, that worked really well. I can talk to people. I can have conversations. And I've been doing it ever since. And I was able to get, bigger and bigger and get bigger guests and reach out across my network and get other referrals and obviously refine the process. But I realized that it could work quite powerfully. So let me tell you about Jeremy, because Jeremy has amazing entrepreneurs, starting a number of different companies in the healthcare space and e-commerce, online marketplace. He started his podcast back in 2008. And the funny thing about him is he hates writing. And yet for, 14, 15 plus years now, he's been publishing at least 2 pieces of content per week because he likes just having a conversation with people. And then everything else beyond that, you can have a team that does it for you. And of course, we co-founded Rise 25, helping B2B businesses to connect to their Dream 100. And Jeremy, do you want to tell the story about
the light bulb has gone on so many times. I love your story, John, too. And there was this cascade of business moment. So I featured a top venture capitalist on my podcast, who, by the way, I did not know. Okay. Someone introduced me because I had a podcast and I did not know them. And afterwards I said, hey, who do you think I should have on? He's like, let me think about it. And a day later, usually let me think about it means I'm not going to get back to you or I don't have any suggestions for you. But a day later, he sent me this email. And he sent me a list of 27 people. Okay. And he wrote, please find below a list of the people and companies that may be of relevance for you. By the way, you should treat this as a first draft and think, wow, I'm not sure what the second draft is going to look like, but if this is a first draft, awesome. Here's the caliber of people, though, that he was suggesting out of the 27 people. Here's the founder of Waze, who, by the way, sold to Google for over $1 billion. So I'm like, holy cow, this is amazing. I got this person introduced to me, and now he's willing, after meeting me once, introduce me to 27 of the people he knows of high caliber, right? So between myself, over the past over a decade, we stumbled upon and discovered and use a predictable system for getting more incoming referrals, connecting to high caliber potential clients, and building the biggest reputation in our fields. Okay, John, I know with these that we're looking at here, we did not work at these companies. I didn't know anyone at these companies, but these are some of the companies we've featured or collaborated with because of the podcast. So we did not have industry connections. Now, you're listening, you probably have a lot of industry connections in a specific niche, right? Who do we help, John?
Yeah. So let's start with who we don't help. So first of all, we don't do hobby podcasts. We don't do passion projects. 2 friends who want to get together over a glass of wine and do movie reviews or dish about reality TV. That's great. That's just not what we do. We don't help people want to be the next top true crime podcast or wants to compete with Joe Rogan, who, by the way, has a 15-year head start on you. But who we do help is B2B companies that have a high client lifetime value, digital agencies, so SEO agencies, e-commerce agencies, any kind of digital agencies, consulting firms, M&A firms, private equity, IT services, financial services. If you have a high client lifetime value, and especially if that's a hard type of clientele for you to nail down, a B2B podcast can be tremendously powerful for you. And our focus is to make sure that your company achieves ROI with a B2B podcast, because that is the way that you will keep on doing it. And believe me, I almost gave up about 5 years into it. I was ready to give up. I'd gone to the point where I just put out fewer and fewer episodes. I was stuck in the process of it. I was not delegating. And I said to Jeremy, like, I put out no episodes last year. I saw you put out over 100. What are you doing right? What am I doing wrong?
And
I
by the
need you
way,
to come in and
John,
revamp it.
you didn't fail because of these things
Systems.
on here. You didn't fail because your audio quality wasn't good. You didn't fail because you didn't get enough downloads. You didn't fail because you couldn't get guests to say yes. But what was holding you back at that point was a system and processes. And what holds a lot of people back, even with that, you were getting ROI because you were actually interviewing the correct people, you were doing the correct steps, but at that time you weren't putting out the episodes because of the system. So it has to come in both things, have the system and make sure that you are focusing on ROI. And that's why people stop is they're not getting out of the ROI and they don't have a partner or system in place to do it. Right. So
Right.
These two steps are the right strategy to identify, which we talked about, and reach out to your Dream 100 and delegate everything else off of your plate so you can focus on your business and forming relationships.
And I like to say you delegate everything that's not uniquely you, that only you can do. Everything that you don't have to do, we should take off your plate. Because if I have an extra hour of your time, I want it to be spent having a high caliber conversation with a great champion, referral partner, or potential client or potential referral partner. That is the best use of your time.
So here's the key to podcasting successfully. It's to focus on getting ROI with your podcast. We have a lot of success stories. We mentioned a few here. There's a page that goes on with actual videos of people because we capture them as we go along the way over the past decade. But how do you get ROI? Okay. How do you get ROI? John?
Yeah. So first of all, go to this page. So this is our cheat sheet. This is going to help you with the tools that you need, which is kind of table stakes for getting started in order to get ROI with a podcast. And when you go to that page, you're going to be able to download it. It's totally free. And then also schedule a customized one-on-one podcast plan call with us.
Yeah. So once you fill this out, this is going to give you the specific tools that we recommend that are must use to get ROI with the podcast. So put your name, put your email in there, and it will get delivered right to your email. And John was saying where that will take you once you fill this out and you get that delivered immediately to your email is it's going to direct you to schedule a custom, because the most important thing is to go over your customized plan. How can you use it? And so we are offering you to schedule a customized one-on-one podcast plan. So we'll direct you to a schedule. You can book a time. And we can go over these things, right, John? We can go over the tools in your specific case and how you're going to use those tools, right?
Yeah.
Now, our team, we have a limited capacity, right? We have client calls and interviews that we're doing. So we've opened up time slots. So we're going to honor any time slots as long as we have the times available. So when you go to the calendar, we've opened up times in addition to our other client calls. So book a time. And, we typically charge as much as $2,500 for mapping out a full B2B podcast strategy. All right. Now, in the call, we're not going to be able to map out a full B2B podcast strategy, but we're going to do our best to give you portions of that full strategy. And of course, there's no cost, of course, to do the call. And we're including this for you. So if you do this right, you are going to set yourself up for a lot of referrals and client work, which is our goal for you. So just make sure you go and get the cheat sheet with the 5 tools and then book a time for us.